Back in 2019, I bought my first handgun, a Glock 19 Gen 4. And then I never shot it. It sat in the glove box of my Honda Fit for years, which is a pretty questionable way to tell yourself that you're prepared. At the time, I thought owning a gun meant I was ready. Looking back, it was probably one of the first of many new shooter mistakes. What's up, guys? Welcome back to NoobTube Firearms. This channel is about learning about firearms from the perspective of a new shooter who's still figuring things out. Now, I'm not making this video because I have everything figured out. I'm making it because I've already made a few mistakes worth talking about. This is more like a public service announcement from a guy who's already made some dumb decisions and would like to save you a little time, money, and embarrassment. These are 5 mistakes I actually made as a new shooter. Now, my first mistake was buying a gun and acting like it was a finish line. Again, my first gun was a Glock 19. And before the Glock guys get mad, no, I'm not blaming the gun. The Glock 19 is popular for a reason. It's reliable, simple, proven, and everybody or their cousin has one. As much as I hate to admit it, the problem was me. I bought it, never shot it, and then it sat in the glove box of my Honda Fit for years, which, looking back, is crazy. Not only was I not building skill, I was basically using my Honda Fit as a very unimpressive mobile armory. At the time, I think I had this mindset of, well, I got a gun now, so I'm good. But that's not how it works. Buying a gun is not the end of the process, it's just the beginning. You don't become competent by owning it. You become competent by safely handling it, shooting it, practicing with it, learning the fundamentals, and actually putting in the reps. And I skipped all of that. I didn't build any real comfort with it. I didn't learn the trigger. I didn't learn how it recoiled. I didn't learn what ammo it liked. I just kind of owned it. And ownership feels like progress because you spent the money and now you have the thing. But having the thing is not the same as being good with a thing. It's like buying a guitar and telling people you're basically in a band now. No, you just own a guitar. And in my case, I just owned a Glock. A gun sitting unused does not make you more capable. It might make you feel more prepared, but that feeling can be very misleading, especially for myself because I sucked with it. So if you're newer and you just bought your first gun, don't make the same mistake I did. Don't let it become a very expensive object you occasionally remember exists. Get familiar with it. Learn the safety rules. Take it to the range. Get some instruction if you can. Dry fire safely. Learn how to load it, unload it, clear it, store it, maintain it, actually shoot it. Because the goal isn't just to own a firearm. The goal is to become competent and responsible with it. Now, my second mistake is actually pretty important. I think it is. It's actually buying a gun that I want to go shoot. And again, this is not saying the Glock 19 is a bad gun. It wasn't. The Glock 19 is probably one of the safest recommendations you can give someone. It's reliable, practical, proven, and there's a reason why so many people trust it. But for me, I think I bought the default answer. I bought the gun that everyone tells new shooters to buy, and then I didn't actually build any excitement around shooting it. And I think that matters more than people care to admit. Because when you're new, you don't just need a gun that makes sense on paper. You need something that actually makes you want to go to the range. If your first gun gives you the same excitement as renewing your vehicle registration, you might not be rushing to the range. And that's kind of what happened with me. I owned it, but I wasn't excited to shoot it. I didn't look at it and think, man, I can't wait to train. I didn't plan any range days around it. I didn't buy ammo and think, all right, let's go actually get better. It was kind of just there. And for a new shooter, that's a problem because the early stage is all about building the habit. You need reps, you need familiarity, you need confidence. You need enough time behind the gun that it stops feeling like a mysterious object and starts feeling like a tool you actually understand. And you only get that by using it. A practical gun is great, reliable is great, simple is great. But if you never actually shoot it, none of that matters. It's like buying the most expensive treadmill on the planet and using it as a laundry rack. Technically, great equipment. Functionally, you're still not doing cardio. And that's how I look at my first gun. It was a great gun, but I didn't create the habit. Now, obviously, the gun is not responsible for my lack of discipline. I am. The Glock didn't crawl into my glove box and abandon its own training schedule. That's on me. But looking back, I do think newer shooters should think about enjoyment more than they probably do. Not instead of safety, not instead of reliability, not instead of practicality, but along with these things. Because the gun you actually enjoy shooting is the gun you're probably going to go train with. And the gun you train with is going to help you way more than the perfect choice that never leaves the case. So if I was giving advice to someone newer, I'd say don't just ask what's the best gun. I'd ask what's a reliable gun that fits my purpose. Fits my hands, fits my budget, and makes me want to actually go shoot it. Because if you're excited to shoot it, you're more likely to build a habit. And if you build the habit, you're going to get better. That doesn't mean just buy the flashiest gun possible because it looks cool. Even though I'm very guilty of wanting to go buy an $8,000 2011, but my wife will kill me. Your first gun should be practical enough to trust, but enjoyable enough that you actually want to go put rounds through it. Because the boring answer might be technically correct, but if it doesn't get you to the range, it's not helping you. My third mistake was going shooting without someone experienced to actually help me. Now, I don't mean you need to show up day one with some high-speed instructor, a plate carrier, and a training plan that looks like it was written by NASA. I just mean someone safe and experienced enough to catch the obvious stuff early. Someone who can look at your grip and say, hey man, that's probably why your shots are going out to the neighboring zip code. Because when you're new, you don't know what you don't know. And to be quite honest, that's the dangerous part. You might think your stance is fine. You might think your grip is fine. You might think your trigger press is fine. You might think you're aiming correctly. And then later you realize you were just practicing bad habits with confidence. And confidence is great unless it's attached to wrong technique. That's basically how you become very committed to being very wrong. For me, I would go out and shoot, but I didn't really have anyone correcting me. No one was watching my grip. No one was telling me if I was anticipating recoil. No one was helping me understand why my shots were going where they were going. So I wasn't really training. I was kind of just shooting. And there's a big difference in that. Shooting is pulling the trigger and making noise, which is a lot of fun, but training is knowing what you're working on and getting feedback. Without feedback, you can convince yourself you're improving just because you're getting more comfortable, but comfortable doesn't always mean better. Sometimes comfortable means that you've repeated the same mistake enough times that now it feels normal. That's probably the biggest issue with learning completely on your own. You can build bad habits before you know they're bad habits. And then later, you don't have to just learn the right way. You have to learn the wrong way first. And that's way harder. It's like taking the scenic route to competence, except the scenic route is expensive and full of low left groups. So if you're a new shooter, I think one of the best things you can do is actually go shoot with someone who knows what they're doing. And I don't mean your buddy who owns 3 guns and now thinks he's the county sheriff. I mean someone who's actually safe, calm, patient, and actually understands fundamentals. You don't need someone to make you feel dumb. You need someone who can actually help catch mistakes before they become habits. And honestly, even one good range session with the right person can probably save you months of guessing. Because there are things that you just won't notice about yourself when you're focused on shooting. You might not notice that you're tightening your hand right before the shot. You might not notice that you're dipping the muzzle. You might not notice that your grip is changing every time you present the gun. But someone watching from the outside can see that stuff immediately. That's what I missed out on early on. I thought just going out shooting would eventually sort everything out. But without structure and feedback, I was mostly just reinforcing whatever I was already doing. So the lesson here is simple. Don't learn everything in a vacuum. Find someone better than you. Ask questions. Take advice. Get feedback. And don't let your ego get in the way because the target already knows the truth anyway. I wasn't training. I was just creating muscle memory for mistakes. 4th mistake was going to the range with no plan. And honestly, this is probably one of the biggest ones because it feels like you're being productive. You pack your gear, you buy ammo, drive to the range, load your magazines, you shoot, check the target, you shoot some more, and then you go home. And in your head, you're like, awesome, great range day. And you know what? Maybe it was. I'm not saying that every range trip has to be some super serious training event where you show up with a clipboard and a whistle. It's great to just go out there and shoot and have fun. But if the goal is to actually get better, there needs to be some kind of plan. That's a part that I missed. I would go out there and just shoot at the target. No specific goal, no drill, no notes, no tracking, no real idea of what I was trying to improve. I was basically just going to the range, shooting 500 rounds of 9mm, and then heading back in my truck. And ammo nowadays is way too expensive for that whole strategy. The problem with having no plan is you can shoot a lot and still not really learn anything. You might have a good group and not know why. You might have a bad group and not know why. You might start missing and immediately blame the gun, the ammo, the sights, the wind, the lightning, the target, the table, your shoes, anything except the fact that you might just be squeezing the trigger too hard. And I've been there. I still do that often. When you don't have a plan, it's hard to measure progress. You don't know if you're improving because you're not tracking anything. You're kind of just hoping that more rounds equals more skill. But shooting doesn't automatically make you better. Practicing the right things makes you better. And that doesn't mean the plan has to be complicated. A range plan can be extremely simple. It can be, okay, today I'm going to go out there and work on grip. That's it. Or today I'm working on slow, accurate shots at 7 yards or 10 yards or 15 yards. Or today I'm going to practice a new drill and write down how I actually did. It doesn't have to be that fancy. You don't need a laminated operator's checklist and a shot timer hanging off your belt like I did when I didn't even know how to use it. You just need purpose. Because when you have purpose, every shot tells you something. If you're working on trigger control and your rounds are going low left, that tells you something. If you're working on grip and the gun is moving too much between shots, that tells you something. But if you're working on blasting away with no goal, the target might be giving you feedback and you're not even listening. And unfortunately, that was me. I'd shoot, look at the target, make a face like I was analyzing something, and then proceed to learn absolutely nothing. So now I'm trying to go with a different approach for range days. Before I shoot, I know what I'm working on. Maybe it's one drill, maybe it's distance, maybe it's skill, maybe it's speed. Maybe it's just taking fewer shots but actually paying attention to all of them. Because especially as a new shooter, I think quality reps matter more than just round count. A few hundred rounds with no focus might be fun, but 50 rounds with purpose, that can teach you a lot more. And that's the lesson. Going to the range is good, having fun is great. But if you want to improve, don't just show up and hope skill appears. Pick something. Work on it. Pay attention to what the target is telling you. And stop treating ammo like a subscription service for loud noises. All right, now my last mistake is a pretty simple one. 5th mistake is buying red dots before I was actually comfortable with iron sights. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not anti-red dot. I love red dots. I own red dots. This is not me saying red dots are bad. They're not. This is me saying I was probably trying to buy my way around fundamentals. When I started getting more into shooting, I wanted optics on everything. And I think that's a really easy trap to fall into as a new shooter. Now, don't get me wrong. The guns do look way cooler with a red dot. A red dot can be an awesome tool, but it does not fix bad fundamentals. It won't fix a bad grip. It won't fix a bad trigger press. It won't fix recoil anticipation. And it definitely won't fix the fact that you haven't practiced enough. Actually, in some ways, a red dot makes your problems way more obvious. I mentioned before that I was terrible with my Hellcat Pro, and I put a red dot on it thinking that it's going to fix all my issues. Well, it turns out it didn't. I still sucked with it. And then I thought, you know what? It's a bad gun. Bad trigger. It's snappy. It's not the right gun for me. And it turns out all I had to do was work on my grip. And when your presentation is inconsistent, when you spend half the time fishing for your red dot like it owes you money, well, that was me. I'd bring the gun up, and instead of the dot being there, it'd be like searching around for my lost keys. And when that happens, it's very tempting to blame the optic. Oh, maybe the window's too small. Maybe the brightness is wrong. Maybe I need a more expensive dot. Maybe I need to spend another $400 and see if that fixes my personality. But most of the time, the problem is simpler than that. It's presentation, it's grip, it's consistency, it's fundamentals. And those are things you can't skip. That's why I think you should spend more time getting comfortable with irons first. Not because irons are magical, and not because red dots are cheating. Because irons force you to understand alignment, presentation, sight picture, and what the gun's actually doing. They give you a good baseline. And once you have that baseline, I think a red dot becomes a tool instead of a crutch. Again, I'm not saying new shooters shouldn't use red dots. A lot of people probably learn pretty well with them. And honestly, seeing the dot move can teach you a lot. But for me, I think I jumped into optics before I had enough consistency to really benefit from them. I was trying to throw an optic on everything like I was unlocking Call of Duty attachments. And the problem is, this isn't Call of Duty. You don't unlock skill by putting a new attachment on a gun. You actually have to put the work in. So I want to make sure we're clear. The lesson here isn't don't buy red dots. The lesson is don't let gear become a substitute for fundamentals. If you want a red dot, cool. Get one. Learn it. Train with it. But don't expect it to fix everything for you. Because if the basics are bad, the optic is just going to give you a clearer view of the problem. I had way more optics than I had fundamentals, and that's not a loadout I recommend. So those are the 5 mistakes I made as a new shooter. I bought a gun and never shot it. I didn't actually buy a gun I wanted to train with. I went shooting without someone experienced. I went to the range with no plan. And I started buying red dots before I had the fundamentals to back it up. Now looking at all of these, the theme is pretty obvious. I confused owning gear with building skill, and I think that's a really easy trap to fall into. So this is what I'm trying to focus on more now. More intentional practice. More learning from people who know more than me. More reps with a purpose. And hopefully fewer expensive side quests that I pretend are training. So if you're new to, hopefully this helped you avoid some mistakes that I made. And if you're experienced, I'm actually curious. What mistakes do you see newer shooters make the most? Please drop it in the comments because there's a good chance I already did it or I'm about to. If you guys enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. And yeah, follow along the journey with me. This is NoobTube Firearms, and I'll see you in the next one.